Alrighty. Sorry about that, everybody. We'll wait a couple seconds before we get started again. Just had some internet issues. Hopefully we're back together now. Hopefully everything sounds crystal clear. Again, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is at this point. Let us see here.
Bernie, I can't stress how good your voice sounds right now. This is the best I've ever heard your mic sound. It's like you're in my head.
All right. I'm in his head right now. I'm whispering sweet nothings to him.
I'm like shooting you're like shooting a three for Ben Simmons, just ringing in my head.
Just ringing in the head.
Wow. That's a bar. That's crazy.
All right. So we're gonna redo that segment for everybody that was kind of listening in, and it was more on our end than really your guys' end. I think you guys could hear it crystal clear. I think it was just on our end, but nevertheless, we're gonna restart this segment. We're gonna just kind of go over the stuff that we missed over the week. I think Brad, the first point that you brought up was the Brooklyn Nets. Do you want to share your Brooklyn Nets for a little show and tell?
Yeah. I actually tweeted last night. I was like, you guys can let me know what you think of this, but I think the Brooklyn Nets should fire Steve Nash today and go grab Sam Cassell from the Sixers before the Sixers realize what they have. Like, before they realize Doc is incompetent and before they realize that they're going to need to hire Sam Cassell, the Nets should go sweep him up quickly. Because there's no reason that a team with KD and Kyrie on it, especially playing 40 minutes, should be losing to a tanking Indiana Pacers team in their own house. Just should not happen. That's like 80% coaching, 20% roster and talent. That's mostly coaching.
All right, let me pose an alternate trade here for you, Brad. All right.
Okay.
The Boston Celtics call up Brooklyn, okay? And they say, hey, here's whatever player other than Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum that you want, and Ime. We'll trade you Ime and this player and just give us Kevin Durant. Send us Kevin Durant back. You can have your coach. He'll fix the culture. He's not afraid to tell these dudes to shut up and you just play. There you go. Everybody wins. You get a good coach for the future. Boston gets their guy. Boston's going to go win a title with KD, Tatum, and Brown. Oh, that's nice.
I like the sound of it. I really do, especially if I was like, a Boston fan. That sounds fantastic to you.
The problem. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think the only problem with it is you got to get a salary to match KD's, and so
like what about like Robert Williams? Is his contract up there?
No, it's a small contract. It's not big enough. You're gonna have to trade. You're gonna have to trade. No, you're gonna have to trade Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum.
Yeah. Go get Westbrook's contract and then flip that 3-team.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Boom. Bernie, look at me. I'm solving all your problems. I'm getting you KD, Bernie.
You're getting me KD. But let's talk about Brooklyn for a second. Brad does pose an interesting point. I think that they had a players only meeting from last night, from what I heard. It's kind of one of those things where they have just a kumbaya moment of just like, what team are we really? And I think when we look at the team roster, there's nobody in there that's gonna muck it up for them, right? There's no big guy that's just gonna absolutely just kind of rebound. There's no Lopez brothers. There's no. They probably should get Bassey, Brad. I think that'd be a good ad for them.
Why on the Spurs now?
They needed. They need someone that's gonna just rebound for them. There's no one on that team that wants the ball. It's kind of like, Ben Simmons. If the ball happens to fall to him, it falls to him. Same thing with KD. Same thing with Kyrie. There's no one out there. I mean, Claxton is like the closest thing, but Claxton is just not big enough, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't have the shoulders, right? He doesn't have broad shoulders. He's a little narrow. He's kind of like KD built.
You can't play him with Ben, who you're paying a bunch of money to play.
I mean, the closest guy should be Ben Simmons. I mean, this dude is, a center, a point forward. I mean, this guy should be grabbing every single rebound. I think for me, the Brooklyn Nets, they need to figure out what their identity is as a team. Are they going to be grit and grind? Probably not. But they need to figure out how to be that in order to win, because they're giving up so many like when I watch all their games every single time, they're giving up second chance opportunities every single time I watch them play. There's key rebounds that they don't get, and it ends up going back to the offense, and the offense scores, and then KD and Kyrie are, instead of being down like by 2 with like, a minute 20 left, they're down by like 5 or 7 because they got the extra rebound, the extra possession, and it just kills them every single time. And I think that, without D'Antoni there, I think Steve Nash is getting exposed a little bit. and kind of just like the player, kind of the offensive schemes that they run. But I think to me, it's more of the heart. I feel like the heart in Brooklyn isn't there from all three guys, from KD, from Kyrie to Ben Simmons. Like all those guys don't seem to me like they care about this stuff. Ben Simmons just gets to go home and play Modern Warfare 2 now that it's out. KD just gets to go home and complain on Twitter that his team isn't doing enough to win games. And Kyrie Irving, we know what Kyrie Irving's doing. He's watching some very interesting movies and then listening to Alex Jones. Like, I mean, this is just kind of the thing that to me is just, I feel like these guys just don't care. And that's the worst feeling in the world when you're a player and you're trying to, you're playing your butt off. The role guys, they're playing their butts off. But when the three guys don't care about their teammates or care about each other, they might say, go get your bread, get all this stuff. But it's more to me like, I don't really care that my other guy isn't getting the rebound, or hey, I need to help out and rebound. I don't know. I'm probably going on a tangent right now, but it's frustrating to watch Nets basketball at the current moment because every time I see them on League Pass, they're down by like 5 or 6 every time in the fourth quarter.
Right. Like the only pushback I would even have remotely for the Steve Nash thing is that it's so far beyond just him being a bad coach. Why it's so ugly for them that it's like I don't want him to just be the scapegoat. He doesn't really deserve that. He's a terrible coach, but it's not his fault that they're as bad as they are. Like truly, it's not. Like if you're paying these dudes, like specifically KD and Kyrie, and not that they ever showed this before in any of the situations they were ever in, they're not leaders. They don't lead your team. They don't lead you in moments where things aren't going right and pick your guys back up. They're not out there picking Ben Simmons back up when he's stuck outside the three-point line, even though he would never shoot it anyway, right? Like, they're not motivating the rest of their team because they don't seem motivated themselves. Like, and it's tough for a lot of people to hear that and say, like, the average fan would look at that or hear me say that and say, what are you talking about? Kyrie's had 30 points, like, 5 games in a row, basically. Like, he's disgusting. Yeah. But it doesn't matter if you're not winning. If you're not influencing your team towards actually being close to winning, especially, it's even less useful because they're not even close.
Yeah.
They're not even on, like, the cusp of making it look like they're right there and it's going to turn around. This team is toast. I honestly look back at our preseason things and think we were being a little too generous because it's not like any of the signs weren't there. They have no rebounding at all. It's not even just on Ben. They don't have anybody on their team who's built to go get rebounds. They have not one player. Like, it's shocking how much this team misses a guy like Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is a role player with pretty limited minutes on Denver. I mean, not limited, but he's not like one of their main guys for sure. Brooklyn, he would be like their 4th or 5th best player right now.
I mean,
like, they need him.
He was getting those buckets in that Celtic series.
He was getting rebounds. I mean, he at least was putting in like this effort that made it look like, hey, I care about winning. You hit on it, Bernie. If there's anybody to feel bad for in this situation, it's the role players on this team. Like the Seth Currys. Like, I think of guys like that. Seth Curry could be on any team in the league being a valuable role player right now. Instead, he's stuck in this situation because he was hitched with Ben Simmons. Like, I can't help but feel bad for a guy like that. That sucks, man. Cam Thomas, whether or not him rolling his eyes at Steve Nash over the summer is justifiable, it's hard to blame him when these are his role models in his first 2 years in the league. He's learning from the worst players to see how they handle their business.
No.
It's the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm going to steal from my cap or no cap segment. They are the 2 least fun teams to watch in the NBA, and I honestly don't think it's even close. I would rather watch Sacramento. I would rather watch OKC. Give me any of those bottom barrel teams. They at least care about every night, at least not looking like a bunch of just bozos who make a bunch of money and just want to be, famous outside of the game they're in, right? Like, I can't stand Brooklyn, man, but I guess my biggest thing is I just don't want to see it all go on Steve Nash. it isn't all Steve Nash's fault. They picked Steve Nash. Kevin Durant picked Steve Nash. So whether they want to go back and look at it like, hey, he wasn't who we thought he was, you picked him. He never coached. He was never a head coach. What did you expect? I just don't understand. I don't understand that type of stuff, man. Like, he had retired like 5 years before that and was commentating soccer games on Bleacher Report. You thought he was going to come in with schematics like Mike D'Antoni? What are you thinking? No, you just wanted to go there and have somebody you could boss around. That's all it is. Yeah. I can't stand those guys, man. Let's get off them. I don't even want to talk about it.
I would say Sean Marks also deserves some blame. Like, I think you're right. It shouldn't just be Steve, because Sean Marks built together a terrible roster. Like, has TJ Warren even played?
I don't even remember seeing him on the court.
It's shocking.
Yeah, me neither.
TJ Warren should be getting buckets for this team. Why did he even go there? I don't even understand. I honestly blame him for going there. Don't sign a contract there. Go somewhere and look at the writing on the wall, man.
Yeah. Really quick. Nets. Here are some free agent centers that you could potentially get. Willie Cauley-Stein, DeMarcus Cousins, Derek Favors. Dwight Howard at 37 might be better than what you got right now.
Definitely.
Tristan Thompson. He needs to, support the kids.
Thompson's not on a team. Wow, that's crazy.
Dude,
Hassan Whiteside
for Orlando. Go get Mo Bamba. He's better than almost every player on your team.
Yeah, but I mean, they just need to do better and just like get some guys. But let's move on to the next team. We talked about the LA Lakers as another one. This team, of course, 0-5 right now. I think that there's a lot of blame to go everywhere. I think Pete and I were in a disagreement before the chat or the live stream ended. I think that this primarily is on the fact that this is basically the same roster from last year with maybe just a few additions. And we all saw what the roster was last year and how they turned out. The Lakers are a mess right now because there just seems to be no chemistry with one another. They seem to be shooting way too many threes for a team that only makes about like 22% or something like that over the last like 5 games. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of games shooting 22%. I mean, that's abysmal. That's not even bad. That's abysmal.
Another situation that's not that far off the Steve Nash one, and it's why I was on the stream time and time again last season saying, like, as bad as this is for the Lakers, it is not all Frank Vogel's fault. And Brad, I know you have your thoughts on Vogel. Not his fault. I mean, look at what Darvin Ham's doing. Are we going to not pretend it's any different?
Sure.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of just like, the cards they were dealt, because what are you supposed to do with that roster? Like, at least the Nets have some talent. They have, like, Seth Curry would be our 3rd best player, So
probably, yeah.
Yeah, the Lakers are setting historic records for missed threes, which is just insane. Like, that team it's tragic.
Yeah. It almost appears that there's no coaching. Like, which I would say from everything we knew about Darvin Ham coming into his tenure as a head coach, doesn't sound like the way, people viewed him before. So I find it really hard to believe he's not trying to do anything. There's no way that's the case. They just don't listen. And realistically, we talked about this a little bit on the stream, maybe not a little bit, probably a lot of it, but their signings in the offseason, man, those made no sense. It made no sense. They make even less sense now. Lonnie Walker was not a successful player with the San Antonio Spurs. He couldn't hit threes there, and they were bad in trying to give him any opportunity to be the guy. Juan Toscano-Anderson wasn't that guy for the Warriors. He wasn't a major point, for them winning that title. He wasn't. He was fine, but like, you can't be going out and giving those guys mid-level exceptions. Like, they're not that good. So to see all of last season and see the things they were so weak at and say, you know what, Lonnie Walker, Juan Toscano-Anderson, these are the guys that can bring us back to, that bubble championship. What universe do you live in? Do you watch these guys play? You watch him play. Lonnie Walker can't hit a three. He just can't. With 5 guys, looking the other direction, he can't hit a three.
I will say Lonnie has looked better than what I thought. Yeah.
He's fine. He's and I'm going hard on him. He's kind of like the worst version of the Malik Monk situation last season. Like he's gonna get these looks where he can do things because there's nobody's paying any attention to him, right? I don't know, man. They're again just such a disaster that they're not fun to watch, man. I don't want to watch them. I just don't.
Yeah, at all, at all. Yeah. Especially if they didn't have LeBron, if LeBron or AD goes down, this team is terrible. But I will say, I think they played the Timberwolves last game. They looked a lot better without AD, just because as a unit, like they moved. Like AD has been anchoring their defense for sure, but like on offense and defense, they move more with more urgency, you know, because we all see AD like jogging up the court. We see him setting those brush screens, call them flybys. They're not even screens.
Yeah.
Like, so I do like it was weird. Like AD is helping them and definitely keeping them afloat, but they look better without him as a team, if you know what I mean. It's just like AD
just can't shoot
I don't know.
anymore. I don't understand what happened to him.
I already told you, Pete. He's working with Lethal Shooter, probably one of the worst shooting coaches out there.
Grant Williams, Bernie, your boy Grant Williams worked with Lethal Shooter though. You owe Grant Williams' performance last year to Lethal Shooter.
Yeah, but Lethal, I don't know, man. I think he kind of like, you know, like when you half-ass a job. I think he's half doing it with AD, because I mean, AD should be like a bucket getter.
He's half doing. I mean, whatever he's doing. He's literally he's way worse as a shooter these last 2 years than he has ever been since his rookie year. He's the worst I've seen him as a shooter ever.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that made AD so special, is that he could be that defensive anchor. But he also is that guy that, you know, he could shoot threes and be 7 foot tall, right? Like I don't want him shooting shots either. He can't shoot.
Yeah.
Even with like,
too, man.
even
really
without being able to shoot, I wouldn't say he's broken, but like it's just
compared to what
something AD and Embiid do is like they can't. That's fair, yeah. Is that they can't play make, you know? And I don't even want you to be like Jokic, you know? Just if you get doubled, swing it out real quick. But people like AD and Embiid, they'll take like a turnaround fadeaway over their opposite shoulder or something like that. Or especially AD, he loves the fadeaways, he loves the drops. And it's just bad. Like there's no reason that these big men should have 5 turnovers in a game, you know. But AD and Embiid, the easiest way to beat them is just double them. They can't make reads fast enough, and it makes if you can't shoot, at least be able to make a read out of a double and get someone else a shot. But they can't even do that, and it makes the team fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, bubble AD is probably something we'll unfortunately never see.
I don't think so.
Again, I mean, it's just I mean, it's frustrating because I think AD again at one point was compared to those bigs like your Giannis's and things like that. I mean, he was supposed to be on that same level because he could dribble, he could shoot, he could pass the ball. I mean, he had all this stuff with him, but now it just seems like he's kind of being, I don't know if he's just hobbling and just the injuries have kind of piled up and it's continued to kind of affect his body. It's just disappointing to watch. I wish that I wish the Lakers would have just made that trade at the beginning of the year, would have gotten Buddy Hield, would have gotten Miles Turner, and just kind of been happy with that, with those guys. I mean,
yeah, seriously, those picks are, those picks.
Now at this point, you, if I'm the Lakers, I'm holding on to that stuff. There is no reason to sell that stuff now. To me personally, what is Buddy Hield?
At this point, I trade AD.
You trade AD?
But that's the question.
I would trade
though,
AD at this point.
Do you really think you could get what AD is, what you should theoretically think AD is worth? Is anybody giving you that value back? I really don't think so.
Well, I mean, if you're the Lakers, you kind of just. Well, if you're the Lakers, you just need assets because they have no assets. So AD would get them assets. Even he's not going to get them, you know, the KD package that the Nets were trying to send out, but he'll definitely get you 3 first-round picks. I mean, Bernie, if you wanted AD on the Celtics, the Knicks
we wanted him years ago, not now.
But that's Bernie. What you just said is legitimately a thing. Like honestly, I don't think there's as many people who would give the farm for AD as there was a year ago. Like there's not. They have to see that this dude he's over 30, right? Isn't he 30, 31? He's even 32.
I want to say he's 30.
No, he's like 29.
He's 29.
He's 29.
Yeah.
He's 29.
2011. Yeah.
Even then, man, I think it'd be a tough sell. There's not a lot of teams. There's definitely not as many teams. Like, because even the bubble AD was unstoppable. But even the seasons before that, where he's taken those Pelican teams to the playoffs, and it was it that they absolutely smoked in the playoffs. AD just was insane. This
The Blazers.
4 game, yeah. They
Yeah,
swept the
yeah.
Blazers that year. I mean, AD, there was a legit question if he was the best player in the NBA at that
Mhm.
point. There was a
Yeah.
legit question. That-
We
Is
were
he
saying
even
he was
top?
better than Giannis.
Is he even top
Yeah.
15? Is he top 15 right now? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Probably top 25, I'd say, not top 15.
Bottom of that 25, in
Maybe-
my opinion.
maybe
'Cause
top 30.
Offensively, it's rough, and it's not a
So
small
here's my
sample
thing
size either.
with how I think he gets value though, is like the Lakers need him to be able to play 70 games a season because their
Mhm.
roster sucks. But if you put him on a team like the Celtics where you have the Jays who could carry him, they're doing it with Robert Williams right now, I would think the Celtics would probably be willing to give up a Rob Will, a Grant Williams, and like 3 first-round picks and to land AD. Because if you have AD just, coasting for the season and then you can bring him into the playoffs or throw him in here and there in the regular season, that's still a really good piece.
Not bad, but my only counter is that the Lakers literally can't do that. I mean, they can't do that for the mere fact that if they throw this season away and that pick ends up being Wembanyama or Scoot, New Orleans, I mean, that is literally a top 3 train wreck in NBA history. That is a
Top
that is
one,
a
bro.
it
That is
probably
Yeah.
is
the worst.
top 1.
That
mean,
is
it
the worst
probably
thing
is.
I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Oh my
This-
god.
Because I believe there was one time with the 76ers back in like the 80s when Charles Barkley was there where they traded a pick for this guy that they traded the first overall pick for a dude that didn't end up ever playing a single game for the 76ers. Like that is an all-time travesty. That the guy that they didn't end up having or the pick or whatever, it didn't end up being Wembanyama. Like this is one of those moments where it's like I mean, imagine, right? If they did have that pick, whatever it was, because one thing that's going to go under the rug forever is they gave up a historically big package to get AD in the first place. Like ungodly amounts of things they sent. It's one of the most lopsided trades in terms of like you're getting this incredible player, but imagine the team that the Lakers would have now if they hadn't sent all that stuff. They would be one of the best teams in the league probably if they
Well,
could
to
have
be
kept
fair,
Lonzo and
they did
kept
win a
Brandon
ring the
Ingram.
year after. So I mean,
did.
if you look
They
at
did.
it, was it worth it? Like, was winning a
Depends.
ring worth losing Wemby?
That's a good question for you, Brad. Is it worth it to you as a Lakers fan?
I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan. So as a
Okay, I
LeBron
understand.
fan, I would say
Kinda worth
yes.
Yeah, kind of worth it. I agree. As a LeBron
Yeah.
fan, kind of worth it. But like in
Yeah.
terms of, and that's where I can't co-sign if this team has any brains in their skull left, which I don't think Pelinka and Jeannie Buss do. I just don't think they do. They're more worried about the red wine at this point. Like
Yeah.
you can't send that 27 and 29. You can't do it. If I was a fan of the Lakers and they sent that 27 and 29 just to try and fix this team, I would have to resign my fandom because what is this team going to be in 2030? We like to think like that's a million miles away. That's less than 8 years away from now, right? They're easily going to be back in that stretch they had in the 2010s where they were a joke of a franchise for 7 straight seasons. They're going back to that, except it's probably going to be worse. They have nothing along the way to even start putting the pieces back together. So
They need to start looking at the
But I mean,
at some of these elementary school kids, seeing if there's
Yeah.
there's going to be any talent there.
that's what those picks are, man. That's what I'm saying. So like okay, as an honest LeBron fan, if the Lakers don't trade those picks, then they have no avenue to getting better, which would mean that that pick turns into Wemby anyways. So I think they might as well give up the middle schoolers, try and make a push for something, and if it fails, then you can flip. You can't trade LeBron because he just signed the extension, but you could flip AD and say, "Listen, we tried." Like, and because
Yeah.
AD will at the very least he'll get you picks back. Like there would be a million teams clamoring to sell picks for AD.
at this point, I would just call New Orleans and say, "Hey, just give us our pick back. You can just take AD. Just take it back."
David
Have it.
Griffin would hang up so fast.
Yeah, I mean
Right,
that team
definitely.
is gelling and firing on all cylinders right now. I would
Not
not want to
only are
mess
they
up.
not only are they
Yeah.
cooking, but I mean, they have to start getting excited. I mean, even if they get the 7th overall pick, they're going to get one of those, one of the twins or whoever it is. I
Yep.
mean, that this
Mm-hmm.
draft is
Mhm.
not just Scoot and Wembanyama. They're going to end up with another piece that New Orleans team should not have for as good as they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I don't think Anthony Davis is scoring enough for them. I know their defense is good, but when you finally, because we all agree, right? LeBron James is at that point of his career where he needs to either be the second or third option and just kind of like turn it up for the playoffs. And the fact that they kind of have to rely on LeBron James to be the first option in year 20 uh is ridiculous at this point. I mean, this guy should be, you know, getting obviously to the Kareem record, but AD should be almost averaging 28 to 30 points a game. Like
Oh.
that's where he should be in my opinion. Like you traded all those assets for him. We remember the bubble AD. I mean, the shot that I remember again in that Denver series, I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, that was the shot where I thought like, damn, okay, AD arrived. This is going to be his, the next like 10 years or at least maybe the next 5 to 6 years. He could have a good run, but it's just been injuries after injuries, and it's been disappointment after disappointment. Not only for LeBron fans, but also Laker fans too. I think I know as much as the Laker fans are crazy and ridiculous, and I don't think we don't all like them because I think they can be over dramatic. Um, there is some panic in LA right now.
Just let me give one little stat here for this AD situation. Right, there are at this exact moment in time 14 players in the NBA scoring 27 points or more per game. That's first of all, that's disgusting. I don't think that's ever happened this many games into the season. But we have Luka, Giannis, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Trae Young, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox. Me, there is no excuse for Anthony Davis not to be on that list. With the way that the NBA is right now, the fact that there's no other legitimate scorers other than LeBron on this team, there is no rationale behind him not being able to get up into that point
Yeah,
total. Because the question is are these dudes all that good that they should be scoring that many points, or are the league rules right now set in a way where players should be scoring more points? It's the second one, right? Like this new take foul
True.
change has changed the way scoring is going to happen for the rest of this season and going forward, most likely. AD is not that kind of guy, but even then, like, there's no excuse. There's
well,
just
yeah,
no excuse to not be. I mean, what
yeah,
is he even at right now? Let me look real quick. He's at number
He's a
20,
yeah.
24 points a game. Yikes.
yeah. I mean, just even thinking about the situation, right? We think about like the free throws, right? I think free throws are a huge indicator as to why some of these guys get a lot of takes. I mean, if the Lakers are shooting 20% and they're like top 5 in three-pointers taken, I think that's a correlation that they're not getting inside enough and attacking the rim, and rather they're driving in, they're kicking out, and obviously no shot is falling. And instead of saying, "Hey, let's change a little bit. We've taken 2 shots in a row, from three-point land where LeBron drives in, he kicks out. Maybe we should just go into AD or try to run some Iverson stuff for him and let him just catch and rip and go or get him in the post. I mean, anything to get this guy any sort of touch around the rim so he can finish. And instead, it's like, hey, let's just continue to shoot threes. Like,
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I guess for me, my last thing is just at this point, hold on to your picks because even if even if you don't want to trade the picks right now for whatever those guys like Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, I genuinely think the way this season is going, there's going to be some trade that is better than that that's going to come available. And I mean, look at the Nets. I don't want to go back to them, but I mean they are the ultimate dumpster fire right now. Like the Lakers have to be grateful that the Nets exist right now, just for the mere fact that they're taking some attention away from them. But I mean, that Kyrie thing is ugly. I mean, that is ugly with him and Josiah right now going back and forth. It's the owner of the team. So I would say you're going to have an opportunity to at least go get somebody that's going to change your fate a little bit. So
Yeah.
hold on to it for now. Don't send it for a role player. That's all I would ask of the Lakers.
Yeah.
Not that I care, honestly. Screw it up. It's more fun for me, I guess, as a Knicks fan.
Oh my gosh.
One last point I want to talk about, and then we can kind of go into your segment, Pete. Let's talk really quick about the Utah Jazz. I think just in terms of a lot of us expected them. I think we did pick them, or I think at least you guys did, as the worst team in the West, right? You know, we looked at their roster, we saw like, you know, there's not really much there, but they're kind of balling right now. 5-2 right now, currently. Got off to a really hot start this whole the beginning of the year. Everyone thought, oh well, they're gonna take for Wembanyama. It's gonna be a lot of guys hurt. Colin Sexton not gonna be playing a lot of games. Larry Markkinen maybe not playing a lot of games, but for the most part, 5-2 currently. I mean, that's probably my surprise of the NBA so far in terms of where we expect them to be.
That's weird. It's
I
almost
mean,
like they just have so many competent players that it is some of its parts adds up to more than a lot of these other teams, right? Like
mhm.
it is interesting. I still do think they're going to end up with one of the worst records in the league, just because I
Yeah,
think they're going to have to send these guys. Like they don't want this team to be as good as they are right now. They're 5-2, right?
yeah,
I
five and
believe.
two currently.
They don't want that. I mean, whatever you think as a Utah fan, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're happy right now, but they want Wembanyama. They want Scoot. They want that top pick in this draft. So my biggest thing for that team is, man, Lauri Markkinen finally looks like the guy that he kind of like hinted at certain points he could be.
Yeah.
I think if anybody, I'm interested to see if like they just have to like flip him to somebody like as quick as they can, because he is insanely good so far. Jordan Clarkson too, but like I've been really impressed with Lauri Markkinen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Brad is as well, as he's on his fantasy team.
Yeah, he's
And I've been trying to flip him too.
I
I
feel
need
bad.
help.
I saw that
You're,
pick you
you're just
started
like Danny
trading.
Ainge, Brad. You and Danny Ainge, one and the same.
Lauri Markkinen
I
for AD. Who says no?
thought I had a good trade to Pete's wife. I sent Laurie Markkinen for Darius Garland, who hadn't played yet, and I think he still hasn't played. She
Oh,
denied
he
it. So,
hasn't.
ah,
I had
yeah, I thought I
she
had one with that.
she's not she doesn't really know too much Darius Garland, but I was just like she asked me and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's not terrible, but he's fun. Darius Garland's going to be able to score more points than Lauri Markkinen. You
Yeah.
probably
You also tell Liam to send me some better trades, man. I've been a little disappointed in his trades.
tell your brother
Man,
to send me
he's a
better
real
trades,
estate
Brad.
agent, bro. Liam's gonna try to swindle you no matter what.
Your brother sends me wild trades, Brad.
Oh, I bet. I bet. My brother doesn't do good business. Like him and Liam, it always has to be like a swindle, you know? Like I try to send an even trade that benefits both sides, but they're always trying to get a one up on someone. It's super obvious.
Yeah.
Real Daryl Morey's out there.
Mhm.
Gotta love them. But yeah, I mean, just again, going back to the Utah thing, again, solid team. Obviously, like you said, Pete, they're not going to be wanting to compete for very long. I think they're just trying to do this to kind of boost the morale, like say, hey, buy the season tickets here in Salt Lake, and then all of a sudden, oh, sorry, we traded Larry Markkinen away to a contender. Sorry about
Exactly.
it.
Laurie's
Yeah.
like the great white hope now, drawing in
Yep.
people, drawing in crowds, and I bet they're loving it. They got Laurie, Kelly, and
They finally got their
Walker
white
out
guy.
there.
They finally got
They
their white
when they
guy,
played
the
when they
Mormon.
played all three of them at the same time, and I was like, I know Utah is loving this. Like they
The
are
only
loving it.
the only thing they're missing is Bogdanovich, who should have been traded to the Lakers, by the way. But Bogdanovich
Yeah,
would
the
have been
fact.
a
Oh my gosh.
he's
Yeah.
killing it
Can't
on
believe.
the Detroit Pistons.
Believe that. One thing too, before we get away from the Jazz. I mean, Ernie, what do you think about Will Hardy? I mean, Will Hardy kind of looks
Solid.
like he's that guy. Like this is what we talked about. And I told you guys, if you go back and look at the Celtics, like look at how Ime talks to Will Hardy. I mean, he is going to Will Hardy for everything he needed
Mhm.
to ask him during the playoffs. And not saying that Will Hardy's making all the choices. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that meant something. Will Hardy definitely is a good coach. He's 34. And the Jazz have got this guy. So
Mhm.
he looks pretty good.
Yeah, solid coach. I think that the Jazz are going to be great when they start finally trying to contend, and I think once they start building the roster around what he wants, I think that this is going to be a solid. It's going to be a solid piece for him. I'm excited to see what he can do there in Salt Lake City, but it's obviously going to take a couple years before they truly manifest whatever they're trying to create in Salt Lake City. But It's been a lot of fun. I think the Jazz, obviously, beating teams that they shouldn't beat is surprising to a lot of people, but at the same time, it is a fun. It's fun to watch and see how this team can continue growing and developing and see what pieces they can trade away. Because again, they're looking to get the number 1 pick. Let's make no mistake about it.
Would not
Yeah,
have
I
shipped
mean
those
Jennings
guys.
is.
Would not have shipped those guys.
I hope he doesn't flip all of them for picks because it's looking like that right now. Like he's doing a really good job showcasing all those players.
I'm telling you, I would be shocked if Westbrook does not end up at least being traded to this team. I don't think he's going to play for the Jazz, but I would be shocked if he doesn't end up getting traded to Utah.
I think he might get traded.
Do we think Russ is done after this? I think after this year, I think he's done with the league. Honestly,
I think if I had to guess anything, he gets sent to Utah. Some package gets sent back to the Lakers. They buy out Russ or just say, hey, just go home for the season, and he's done. I don't think he plays in the league after this. I really don't.
Yeah, it's time.
I think he's gonna get one more reunion tour in Oklahoma City. Just as kind of like a
Rumbo. Oh no, please don't do that to my boys.
But that'd be good. I mean, then they get a lot of L's and that gets some Wemby.
I don't think they can get.
Yeah, but you're gonna stunt the development of a bunch of people though. Like you're gonna stunt Jalen Williams. You're gonna stunt Lou Dort. Like no, keep Russ away from my young guys.
They put Shea on the bench. Russ is like, he's like, I need that starting spot. Get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, maybe a trade, Pete. Shea Gilgeous, you've been talking about it a lot. Could happen.
I mean, Bernie, we don't need to infringe on cap or no cap.
Right? All right. But let us know in the comment section down below, everybody, what you guys thought about this. I know this went a little bit longer, but we obviously had to talk about the 3 major talking points so far in week 2. Week 3 is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to find out a lot about these teams going into it. It's going to be like about 15 games played for each team. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let us know in the comment section down below what you guys think of the Lakers, what you guys think of the Nets, and do you think Utah is going to continue to win, or will Danny Ainge pull off a trade of a century? Let us know in the comment section down below.
Real quick before we move on to fact and no cap, I got one quick topic, guys. What's going on with the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard? Have you guys seen that?
Yes, I have. It's some garbage.
Can we maybe, you want to combine these, Brad? Because I have a cap and no cap exactly.
Let's do it. Okay.
Or do you want to intro it, or do you want me to just take over?
It's all you. It's all you. This is your segment.
All right, folks. So before we get too far, new segment. I'm thinking this might be something regular, maybe not regular, but semi
on the regular.
Because as Brad and Bernie are very familiar with, Brad a little bit more recently, Bernie has had to listen to me many times with my nonsense. I'm not afraid of a hot take. I'm not afraid of a bold take. I'll make it. I got them. I got a lot of them. All right. But I'm also not afraid to be wrong. And I am willing for you guys to tell me I am wrong. Well, let's hear it. Cap or no cap? I'm going to give you a point about a team or a player, or maybe multiple points about a team or a player. And you guys, I want you to deliberate, discuss. I'll join in. And, you guys can ask me questions too. If something is so egregious that you guys have to just say, like, what are you even talking about? Feel free. All right. I'm not afraid to be the Stephen A. Smith of this podcast. All right. So let's move forward. Do we want to start real spicy, or do we want to work our way up a little bit? Do we want to just start with the Clippers one, Brad?
Yeah, sure. Let's start there.
Okay. Let me get my little Clippers point up here. So, we talked about the Clippers a lot before the preseason. I'm pretty sure I had them pretty high in my power rankings. I don't remember exactly what spot I did, but I definitely remember saying I think they had the deepest team in the league. All right. Part of the problem that now we're facing is that I not only don't think that's true, I'm really worried about Kawhi Leonard, guys. Are we sure that Kawhi Leonard is the guy he used to be? Because cap or no cap here is, I don't really think it's any different than it was before his big injury. In the sense that, and let me clarify, I don't think he's going to end up playing very many games. All right. There seems to still be this load management thing that's going on. And the dude played 20 minutes in his first game off the bench. And then he didn't come in the next game until there was only 5 minutes left in the second quarter. All right. I'm pretty sure Kawhi is maybe not the same guy. You guys think?
I'm gonna have to say no cap. Um, I
It's
think
pretty
his
rough.
knee is cooked. I think his knee is. I think it's even worse this year than it has been because his injury happened what, a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so
Uh,
this is the big question, Brad, because I was just reading something about this. When he was
hmm
with the Spurs before he ended up, going on his like little, break and saying I want to be traded. I'm not going to play for you guys again. The injury that he had, I'm not going to be able to pull it out of my head what it is, but it was a quad injury. It was a degenerative quad issue. Like it was a weird
hmm
one where they said that it was going to get worse over time.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me finds it interesting. We haven't heard about that in a long time. And now it genuinely looks like he's still hurt. Like it's 2 years he sat on the bench and you're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think that injury was really what it was. Like there's something that is lingering for this guy that is just not going away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely think like his knees are definitely degenerative because there's no reason you've taken this much time off, you've had time to rehab and recover, and you can't. The season just started. You can't even play more than 20 minutes in a game. I saw he's sitting out today and he's sitting out tomorrow also.
Yeah.
So he hasn't
He's
played
he,
their last 3 or 4
he's
Yeah.
hurt.
games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've gone to this point now where I think Kyrie Irving's time as one of the top players in the league has probably come
Why you mean?
and gone. Yep, I think it's come and gone. I mean, we think about like he can't even play a full game anymore. Can't even play a ton of games in a row. I mean, it's a concern if you're the Clippers, man. I mean, you gave up the farm in terms of money, in terms of swindling him from the Lakers. I mean, we think about that whole situation. I mean, they did everything for this guy, and they are rewarded, or maybe not rewarded, but they're not really getting what they want in return, which is someone who plays 60 to 70 games a season, giving you at least 27 to 28 points a game, doing everything he can on both ends of the floor. I think that this is a huge red flag if you're a Clippers fan. I mean, you should be thinking like this is now Paul George's team. This is no longer Kawhi's team. And it hasn't been for a while now, which is kind of sad when you think about it because, really this should have been Kawhi's team. We really should be seeing Kawhi going for the MVP again or for a MVP. But instead, we're looking at a Kawhi where, he's on a milk carton. We have no idea where he's at. We have no idea. We're not updated on his injury, and we don't have to be updated on his injuries. But fans are going to start to ask, like, why is Kawhi not playing every single game? Why is he only playing 20 minutes a game? Why is he coming off the bench in 2022, October 30th, when he's been hurt? When he got hurt a year ago, like a year and a half ago, I think at this point, it's
hmm
it's
Yeah.
shocking to say the least.
Especially because they're dropping games too.
Yeah,
So like at this point, you're looking at your team being in the play-in. So that's not what you want. Uh, yeah, they
yeah,
really need
Yeah.
him to come back and play.
Like I would say, and this is maybe a little additional cap or no cap. I'm already getting to the point where I'm actually not sure they're contenders. I really am not sure because
Yeah, I
this is
agree.
the Kawhi we've got. I mean, Bernie, you just said it. Paul George is the guy. Is a Paul George led team good enough? Really? Is it really ever going to be good enough? I don't know. I mean, Paul
never
George is
has been.
Absolutely not.
Never has
Absolutely
been.
he
not.
We've seen it
he's
already. We've seen this
definitely
story twice,
sure,
3 times now.
definitely. I mean, playoff P. He's got his own nickname.
Push off P,
Exactly.
pandemic
Yep.
P.
Yep.
Pandemic P. That was wild.
So let me ask you this last question for the Clippers. All right. Is another thing that doesn't get talked enough about is, I mean, we're sitting 4 or 5 years into the assembling of this Clippers super team, right?
4 years.
It doesn't really get talked about how much of a disaster this has been in comparison to the Nets and the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers actually are the only ones that actually had any success. They did win a championship, realistically, right?
Yeah.
The Clippers haven't done anything. I mean, they made it to the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago, I believe.
Mm.
And it's not good enough, man. It's just not good enough. And you look at what OKC has now with all the stuff that the Clippers sent for Paul George. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to me is borderline. He's right there. Is he better than Paul George? I don't think it's that crazy to ask. You could have had him on your team. You could have had all those picks. You could have had all these things, and look at what you gave away to get these stars haven't really amounted to much. So I'm interested to see when people start to talk about, hey, Clippers, we've been really patient with you guys. There's been a lot of excuses for your team, the players on your team, all of it. The only person who's blameless in this whole situation is Ty Lue to me. I mean, he's done everything he can to hold it together at every point in time. Kudos to him. It's a lot right now to hold together because, I said they were the deepest team or one of the deepest teams. I feel very differently about that already. Like, I just don't see it because Reggie Jackson's hurt. I mean, their bench players, like, they're great if they're bench players, but if Kawhi's hurt every night, they're not bench players. They're just not good starters at that point. So, yeah, the Clippers are rough. Let's move on to the next one, though. I feel like we're all kind of decided that one's a no cap.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stay spicy. I'm going to get back in order here. All right. The new take foul change is the best thing the NBA has done in ages. Just think.
I'm torn on that.
I love it personally. I'm a huge fan of it. I feel like the flow of the game is so much more fun in the final few minutes. I like it. I like it. Fast break points are always fun. It makes the game more interesting to watch. There's more of them.
Absolutely, I agree with that. My only issue, like no cap, I'll say no cap because I love it too. Like I hated that they were taking away fast breaks. And it's not a smart play, honestly. Like your team should be penalized if you turn the ball over. You shouldn't be allowed to just foul and stop the play.
Yeah, totally
But
agree.
but it's weird because the refs are calling like things that don't really look like a take foul as a take foul, Like if it's not a foul on the ball, they call that a take foul, which I don't like because it's
There's been
giving
some
free points
atrocious
and an
refereeing.
additional tech. Yeah. But for the most part, it's good.
I can't disagree at all. I have seen some of the worst. Like, are you even? What are you talking about? That's a take
Yeah.
foul. Are you crazy? Yeah, they need
Yeah.
they need to smooth that out with the refs. But when it gets called right, I can't help but love it. Bernie, what about you as the coach of the group?
I think this is great. I think for the flow of the game, for the way things are going, I think that this is probably
2 for 2.
one of the best rules. Once they get rid of the on the rim rule, I'll be even more happier. But in terms of just like the rules right now, I think it's a great addition. I'd be curious to see. I can't remember if it's like the last 2 minutes if that rule's out, or I can't remember if that was it, or if it's just a take foul no matter what point in the game.
I believe it's no matter what. I might be wrong though.
I think if it's the last 2 minutes, I could understand them taking that out, but it'd be hard because it's kind of like you want to officiate the game, the whole thing similarly. But I think that in the last 2 minutes, that would be one I would probably take out because obviously, situational. You take that foul just to stop the break, and I get it, but yeah, I mean, I think it's great for just like regular season. You're open run, you're doing things. Get guys highlight reels. I'm appreciative of it, so I'll go. It's a good thing.
We go no cap. I'm 2
No
for
cap.
2. All
No
right,
cap.
third one. Now we're gonna get to some disagreements. I think. The Warriors have the worst defense in the NBA. Clay and Draymond, I think, they're playing their way out of their contracts right now. They're not getting a big mega extension with this team. Their biggest thing that they were, super highly beneficial, even in their, offensive years in the last few years, is just being highly efficient defenders, being good defenders. They are not as good of defenders as they used to be. And let me just read you the scores of the Warriors' first 6 games. Played the Lakers. The Lakers only scored 109, but the Lakers suck. So 109 for the Lakers is kind of like a great night for them. The Nuggets, 128 against the Nuggets. The Kings, 125. Even though they won that game, that's still a lot. Suns scored 134 on them. The Heat, 110. The Heat have an awful offense as well. And the Hornets just beat them, and they scored a 120 on this team. Not sure. What do you guys think?
Bernie, you want to go ahead?
I'm gonna call cap. I think that this team is still defensively solid. I mean, they're kind of like in the middle of the pack when I look at their defensive stats. I think that they'll be okay. I think what's really going to come down to for me is the concern for Klay Thompson. I think that his defense, and even shooting for that matter, has been
he's been not good,
alarming. And I've talked about this before with you guys. What's up, drunk? We talked about it before, right? Where I was like, maybe Jordan Poole takes over Klay Thompson this year because Klay Thompson just doesn't look the same. And I kind of, said that jokingly, but when I really think about it, it's looking
Oh,
like it's going to be true.
he should be getting more minutes than Klay, and even then, that's one of my pieces of evidence. I mean, he's an awful defender, Jordan Poole. Even though he's
Terrible,
Yeah.
yeah.
much more beneficial to have than
Turnstile.
Klay out of the court. Yeah, he's a turnstile. And then, I mean, Draymond. I don't know about you guys. Have you seen anything that makes you think he's worth a big contract extension?
Nothing so far.
I haven't.
It's not the stats, but it's I think for me, he still does the little things that you need him to do. I know that that's kind of a cliche. People are tired of hearing about that, but he still does the stuff. He still sets good screens. He still, hockey assists a galore. I mean, he still does good things. So I can't necessarily think that it's time to. Again, I think he won't get the money in Golden State, but I don't think he's as bad as people are saying that he is. Personally.
I'm not trying to make it, I don't think Draymond's awful. Because any other year, Bernie, I would totally agree with you. People freak out about Draymond. He really is as beneficial to this team as people say he is in their, this little dynasty run they've been on for the last decade. He is that guy. There's no disagreement from me. Just think the things you're talking about, the passing, all the little things he brings to your offense, that's one thing. He was their guy on defense. I mean, he's the guy that's flying around, uber aggressive. I'm going to win every night, every matchup I'm in. And I just don't see that from him, man. And I think you do have to wonder, because it's the same thing with Klay and Poole. If you're swapping Klay out, Poole is now the guy. He's an awful defender. Who's coming in for Draymond? If Draymond isn't right? What's the defense of that person that comes in? It's not that great either. So that's my only rationale. I'm not even 100% committed to this take yet. I need to see more. The sample size isn't big enough yet, but they have definitely been one of the worst defenses I've watched so far. That is just my take on them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say cap for it, just because I feel like the overall score doesn't really show everything that's happening in the game, because they lost good defenders with GP2 and Otto Porter Jr. I think that first unit is still sound defensively with Wiggins, Draymond, and Klay. I think they really fall apart when they let the young guys like Poole, who's terrible defensively, and then trying to incorporate Wiseman and use him as a rim protector, and then they slashed Kuminga's minutes for Ty Jerome. So you're playing a worse defender, Ty Jerome, and Kuminga, one of your better defenders, if not one of your best, is sitting on the bench. So that's also hurting your second unit's defense. So they just need more time to gel and figure it out. And they probably should have kept GP2.
Yeah, they definitely should have. They couldn't have paid him as much as he got from Portland, but they should have tried to figure it out. That is for sure.
Yeah. Dante DiVincenzo is not giving you what he was giving you.
Yeah, they don't even need that. I like that signing when it first happened, and now the retrospect is just he's fine for what you signed him for, but even then, why did you need that? I don't quite understand the fit. All right, I'm fine with that being a cap on that one. I wasn't diehard on it, especially cap as them being legitimately the worst bar none defense. I'm open to that. I know we just got hurt, but I have Dame is back, full strength, and he's looking for that MVP. I think he is definitely been one of the best players I've seen so far this season. I don't think he's missed a step. He looks incredible. I think he's going to end up being a top 5 MVP getter or vote getter this season.
I'm going to say, dang, it's a shame he just got hurt. I'd have a stronger take on this.
It's a tough one, too, because it's that calf injury. So that could linger and slow him down, but I'm just going to hope he comes back. It's fine. He's a tough dude. I mean, he played through that ab injury for years. So let's see.
That's true.
Benefit of the doubt for him.
I'm going to say cap, just because I was so low on Portland coming into the season. No. And I know they've proved me wrong so far, but it's still really early. So I think that if the team falls off a little bit, because their depth still isn't all that, even though if they get GP2 back, if they fall off just a little bit, then Dame's MVP case isn't looking as good, because you still have Ja, you still have Luka, you still have Tatum, you still got
Giannis,
Yeah,
Jokic.
Giannis, Jokic, exactly, and even
Not Embiid.
Embiid, who I hate to put in there. Yeah,
Not
I'd
Embiid.
hate to put him in there, but I feel like just
We'll
the
get to him in
narrative
a
is
little
too
bit.
much.
We'll
Yeah,
get to him.
okay, yeah, he's been terrible, honestly.
Nightmare.
But yeah, I'm gonna say cap on that. Dame does look fantastic though.
Dame is dude. Dame looks so nice. And honestly, before you go, Bernie, Anthony Simons too. Anthony Simons is amazing. I'm a huge fan of him. Bernie,
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I look at this team, when I look at Damian Lillard, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to call cap because I think it's gonna be one of those things where I think just like the Utah Jazz right now, they're on a roll. We talked about them in an earlier segment. They're gonna fall apart at some point. And I think that for what I think it's gonna be more down towards is, I think the Blazers kind of have to decide what they want to be. Do they want to be a team that's competitive? Do they want to be a team that's still competing, or do they want to be a team that's saying, "Hey, we want to build for the future and kind of build around Simons"? And so I think that that's kind of what they're at right now. Because again, they have an aging star, just like the Wizards do with Beal. It's the same thing here with Lillard. It's like you have a star that's really good. He's an awesome player, but at the same time, what's your goal? Is your goal to win the championship? Well, I don't think this roster necessarily is going to win you a championship. I think this roster is going to get you a solid, maybe first round surprise, and that's really it. And so I think that that's kind of what the Blazers have to decide right now. Is who do they want as their guy? Who is going to really help this team benefit down the line? But I don't know, man. We'll see.
I, I will say I do feel much more strong about this one than the last one. I think Dame has looked incredible, and Adam, just like you, I was super low on Portland. I do feel the opposite, though. I genuinely feel like I've been proven wrong. I think they're not that bad. I think they're going to be kind of fairly competitive for most of the season. Their defense is not bad whatsoever. They have a lot of options. And one thing, too, that I was forgetting coming into this, they were really trying to tank last season. Like, if you go back and watch anything and look at some highlights from them in the last stretch of the season, they were trying everything they could to tank with that team, the point where Anthony Simons and Nurkic had to get benched because they were still competing too hard and getting some wins they shouldn't have got. So it's not like they were so awful last season that it's impossible to imagine that they would get this much better with Dame and Jeremy Grant getting added, and Shaden Sharp too. Shaden Sharp has looked great considering how raw he was before this. So I feel pretty strong about that one, but we can move on. Let me skip this Ben Simmons one. We talked about it. I just had written that I think he's officially broken. I think that's no cap, but don't need it. We don't
Oh,
need to.
Drunk was asking for Shade and Sharp thoughts in the chat.
To
If
me,
anybody wanted.
I had Shaden Sharp as my number 4 overall prospect in the draft. Borderline, I had him kind of flipping between 3 and 4, and Bernie, I know, hates that because it was with Chet. I just couldn't help but switch him. I I think that body type that Shaden Sharp has, his skill set, it was just, if you watch, kind of had the same situation, and this is a weird comparison, but hear me out. Kind of had the same pre-draft situation that somebody like Giannis had, right? Where like there's only these weird little clips of him in these high school gyms against people who have no business ever being in NBA prospect videos. The flashes were there of like, look at the body type, look at how big he is, he can shoot, look at where he gets his shots from, and all that stuff is translated so far for me. He's so long, man. He's got all these tools that he can use, and he's got these he's almost got like a Paul George, like early type of build. He can do a lot of stuff. I'm huge on Shaden Sharp. I'm a fan of him. I was biased before the draft too, so
Yeah, I'll admit I was wrong. I think like I said he was talented, but I didn't know why the Blazers took him because they had Simons and they had Dame. But seeing like how he plays, he can definitely play that, like, kind of not a big wing, but he can play the wing,
Mhm.
and he could play a big guard position. He can shoot, drive. I like Shaden Sharp a lot. I see the potential. I think he's what, 19,
Yeah.
I think he's
19,
18,
20,
isn't he?
18. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the potential is all there.
I think he
Um,
is. Let me look real quick.
Drunk, I think you're not far off. I wouldn't want to build around Simons. He's not a piece you want to build around. He's
Oh, you
definitely a
guys
piece
are
you want to add to that,
crazy.
though. Looking at it, I would rather build around Sharp because I think he can play defense. He affects the game on both ends. Simons is kind of like Jordan Poole. He's a turnstile. So, like, it's hard to build a team around that, but he's a good piece to have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anthony Simon's offense is wildly underrated in my opinion, but yeah, he definitely is not a good defender. That is not a joke.
Yeah.
What do you think about Shaden Sharp at this point, Bernie? Feel any
Um,
differently about him?
I think that, I still like other guys a lot better than him. I think guys like Keegan Murray. I think guys
Yeah,
like Paulo,
that's
obviously. But
that's
I
fair.
think Shaden Sharp is going to be a solid player. Now, again, is he going to be a guy that 10 years down the line could he have like maybe a Paul George career, or maybe a 2014 Kawhi, maybe. But I think that when I look at it, I still need to see a little bit more. Again, he didn't do a lot of 5v5 stuff when he was
Hmm.
doing like, I can't remember if it was an internship or just, sat out the year just to rest. I need to see a little bit more. Um,
He did. He went to Kentucky. There was a infringement of some rule or something, right? I
yeah.
thought that was what it was because he did go to
Yeah,
Kentucky. He just didn't stay there.
he just didn't play. Yeah,
Yeah, he is 19. He turned 19 a few months ago, but still, five. At
that's
19,
amazing. He looks great.
he really does. And I mean, one thing too that it this is the crux of him coming into the draft is that there was so little of seeing him play against competitive competition or just high level
Yeah.
competition at the levels he was at that it was hard to estimate if it would translate at all against better defenders. And it's not that different than other guys where like he hasn't played much against these guys and it already looks the way it does. I can only imagine if he keeps putting the work in and developing it should just keep getting better. So I
Yep.
like it. All right, Brad, we're on to Philly. Here's my predictions. All right, or not my predictions, but my cap or no cap for this one.
Okay.
Doc Rivers will not make it through the All-Star break as the coach of this team. I actually felt like I was being a little generous with that, but I really think at the farthest end, there's no shot he makes it as the head coach of this team. Guys, think about that before we move on to other Philly stuff.
No cap, none at all. Yeah, he's a terrible coach. His defensive schemes suck. His offense sucks, and that's really apparent because Tyrese Maxey, when Embiid sat out, just went off. Like
He
he went
did.
absolutely off.
There's no plan.
And
There's no offensive plan.
exactly. So like it shows that when Harden and Embiid are there, there's no reason for Maxey to be having a bad night. He's too talented. You need to get him involved in the offense. You need to have him run pick and rolls. It shouldn't just be Harden my turn, Embiid my turn, and Maxey just watches. He's too talented for that. Doc has to figure it out, and he won't. So fire him.
Move on now before it's too late. Don't throw your season away. Bernie, what do you think?
The only reason I'm gonna say cap is because I think the owner's gonna give him all the way till the end of the season and then fire him, because I think it's gonna be
That's
the
a crazy mistake. Whoa.
I think it's gonna be the same song and dance with the 76ers team. They're gonna continue to kind of stay the course. They're gonna stay the course again. Embiid's gonna get hurt around the playoff time. They're gonna lose, and then this is finally where Joe Morey goes, okay, we're firing you, and hopefully they make the smart decision and have Sam Cassell be the coach. But I don't know, man. Some of these organizations, they just don't learn their lessons, man. It's tough.
We're bringing in Steve
That is
Nash.
true.
He's coming in as a coach. Here's part two of my 76ers cap or no cap. This one is definitely a little bit more bold than the first one. I feel like the first one, come on, it's Doc. He probably should get fired. Joel Embiid is not happy with the Houston 76ers, and he is going to want out of this team by the end of this season. Whether or not he gets out is not what I'm saying. I'm saying there will be stories that come out about him thinking about it. There's a big difference. I don't think they're going to send him. I think they would rather move a lot of the other people and change things around before they did that.
Mm-hmm.
The body language of Joel Embiid is awful. Beyond even just how not great he's been for how good he is as a player, it's more just how he looks. He looks miserable with this team. You guys think?
No cap.
No cap. No cap.
He's gonna want to trade, man. I
Really
kind of
might.
I think I've seen, we've seen the storyline before, right? The team success isn't there, player frustrated, Embiid not playing like the Joel Embiid that we've seen before. And so I think he's gonna want to trade, man. He's gonna want a place where they're gonna actually build around him, and this is gonna be once Joel Embiid gets traded, the process, or the name, trust the process, whatever you want to say about it, it's over. We need to stop the propaganda from the NBA, from the 76ers. The process is over. It's been over. It's been over ever since Ben Simmons left and missed that shot. It has been over. People need to forget about the process. It's time for something new. The 76ers need a new beginning, because this whole thing, it's a bad, I would say this is a bad thing for the 76ers if he does one out, because at the end, I mean, maybe not bad because they have Tyrese Maxey, but
It's bad. If Joel Embiid wants out, it's bad. It's bad news.
Mhm.
I mean, Philly loves Joel Embiid. I mean, he really was the guy for them. And how long that's going to last is a big question. The way it's going for that team, that's a huge L for them. If he even requests it, it's a huge L, because there will be a lot of teams that is different than the Anthony Davis situation. There will be teams lining up around the corner to try and get into the Joel Embiid sweepstakes, and somebody
yeah.
will get him if he wants out. So, yeah, that one's rough. I'm actually surprised that was such a quick no cap from both of you. I thought Bernie would push back on that a little bit. I mean,
I
he
want to say
genuinely
I'm a
looks
little
miserable.
torn on like no cap. I think he does look miserable and his body language sucks. And I love the Houston 76ers name. Like that's hilarious. But I
Played
don't know
just like
about him
that team did.
acting out. Like yeah, it's terrible. That's not good product, and nobody is happy in that. Just like CP3 wasn't. But I think Embiid loves Philly too much to want to ask out. Like I'm sure we would hear, like the
Mm,
games that these camps and players play, like oh Embiid wants out, but I don't think it'll ever come from him directly.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
But
maybe it just gets floated out there like, hey, if somebody wants him, he would be okay with it. Maybe.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's why I couldn't take
And
it too far, because Philly
Embiid
does love Joe. Joe.
Embiid is Julius Randle with actual stats.
I wouldn't
That's
even say actual stats right now. Julius is playing better than him.
Julius has played better
Embiid,
than Embiid so far,
look
which
at
is
Embiid's
crazy, but Embiid
rebounding
is way
numbers.
better.
They're pathetic.
And then the other one, Embiid is like the girl who blames her exes for all the reasons her life is messed up. Embiid is the problem.
That is a way to take it, but honestly, there's a universe in which that's not that crazy, right? Because the way that Joel Embiid should be playing with his body size, his skill set, I mean, he is literally doing everything he can to not work in his strengths as a player. Like he is doing everything he can imagine to not be the guy that is Joel Embiid as we have known him,
Super
right? So
frustrating to watch.
in that sense, I would agree. Like James Harden isn't making him stand outside the 3-point line and not take shot or only take 3-point shots. He's not
Yeah.
making him do that. That's Joel Embiid's choice. He could go stand down low and try and, bully people, but he doesn't seem to want to do it. And maybe that's more, it's not worth it for him with this team. Like he doesn't want to do that, like hurt himself and, throw himself around for these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it looks like he just doesn't want to play like that anymore. And maybe he's working his way into a Anthony Davis type of situation.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. Let's move on from that one, because I don't want to talk about the 76ers. They're not far behind the Nets and Nets and Lakers as far as I don't have very much fun watching them. New Orleans aren't even sleepers. They're legitimate contenders. And I'll add on to that, I think they have the best 1 through 9 in the NBA currently. I think.
Ooh.
No cap. I want to say I tried to tell y'all earlier. I had him as a dark
Brad,
horse contender.
you were 100% right, and I was more of the category. Like I said, I thought they were like a sleeper, like a long shot. You wouldn't be crazy to put some money on them if you were a gambling person. I
Which
don't
I
even think
did.
they're not sleepers. They're not. They're legitimate contenders. They're one of the best teams in the NBA.
Yeah, agreed. They go so deep. Like that game against was it the Nets or the Mavericks? It was the Mavericks that where they were
Yes.
missing Zion, they're missing Bi, they're missing Herb Jones, and they Larry Nance, Jose Alvarado, and Trey Murphy pick it up, and the whole team does it. Dyson Daniels comes in and is giving Luca trouble. Like they are so loaded, it's beautiful. They are a fun team to watch, and I got to give props to David Griffin because I used to hate on him immensely for how he built that team 2 years ago, but he turned it around and did a much better job with what he has now.
Was
Yeah.
screaming from the mountaintops they should have fired him at the beginning of last season, and he could
Me
not have
too.
proved me more. I mean, like You didn't even say him, but did you say Trey Murphy? He's been incredible.
Yeah,
Trey
yeah.
Murphy is awesome. He's like
Hmm.
their sixth or seventh guy. Crazy.
Yeah. I'll say Cap just for two parts of it. I think in terms of contenders, I think that that's not Cap. I think that they actually are NBA contenders. But in terms of the best 1 through 9, I got to look at the Cavaliers, man. I
Ooh, I thought
like
you were
the
gonna say a different team, but they're there too, Bernie. I agree.
Cavaliers have one of the best, I believe, one of the best rosters in the NBA so far. Again, we talked about it last year, Pete, with this team. I think this team has got, Garland, when they had their players with Colin Sexton, all those guys. But now that they've traded away some of those guys, and now that they have Evan Mobley, they have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. I mean, they are playing tremendously great basketball right now. And when you think about the post LeBron era for the Cavaliers, a lot of people thought it was doom and gloom. But they have finally, Kobe Altman has finally, it's Kobe Altman, right? The GM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kobe Altman has finally crafted a roster and a team that competes on both ends of the floor. And I like the way that they're built. I think that this is going to be a very impressive team moving forward. I think they're definitely going to be top 4 in the East. And I think without Darius Garland, they're 4-1. After he got
They're
hurt,
incredible.
and it's crazy to think that this team is so deep, even missing Darius Garland. I think the problem for me for the Pelicans a little bit, and for that is that if Zion Williamson is out, this team is kind of where they were last year. I think a little bit better, but I think that they're still kind of missing um, that X factor that like gets them over the top. So they need to make sure that Zion can stay healthy for the season and really get him going at some point. I can't remember if he's going to be back today or when he's going to be back.
I believe he plays today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ingram is still out though.
Yeah.
Without infringing too much on a few of my later cap or no caps, I do think it's a little debatable if they have the best 1 through 9. It's a little bit debatable. I think the first part, like you said, both of you said, no cap. They're definitely contenders if all their guys stay healthy. They definitely are, and they have like the third or fourth or maybe even the second most assets. They could go do something if they wanted to. They definitely are contenders. But you said Cleveland. I think Memphis is definitely a question too. They're incredibly deep as a team. So that could borderline be cap on the deepest team in the league. So I won't argue with that too much. Next one. Here we go. Cat needs to go. Karl Anthony Towns needs to be traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's the most expendable piece on their whole team. And honestly, you guys can disagree with me completely. If there's anyone on this whole list that I feel the most strong about, it's this one. I am so anti Karl Anthony Towns at this point. If I want to win a title, I'm moving him tomorrow as quick as I can. Like, just don't see him ever put himself in the right place to do the things he's great at, help the team win as consistently as they should, especially with all these pieces they have. And there's a ton of people who would disagree and say it's their fault for going to get Rudy Gobert. Even if it is, they gave up way too much for him to be expendable at this point. Rudy Gobert is not going anywhere. He can't go anywhere, but they wouldn't send him anyway. Anthony Edwards is the guy for this team. The thing that set me over the limit was Karl Anthony Towns calling out Anthony Edwards after that game. I just can't understand how you call that leadership, especially from a guy like Karl Anthony Towns who has any number of issues that a different star could call him out for. I would send him tomorrow. What do you guys think? I'm just being crazy, Bernie. I know we have long argued about Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Can't do it with him anymore.
That's what put you over the edge was the
I'm an Ant guy, all right? But
I know
it's
you
just
are.
like you're calling him out for stuff that you do. I don't know, man. I couldn't understand it. You're 3 or 4 games into the season calling out a guy younger than you who's better than you.
Yeah, that's some fake leadership right there. There's no reason for that. You can keep
It's
it
not even
in-house.
fake. It's bad. It's just negative leadership.
Yeah, especially since Cat, like we all watched Cat come to the league. He was chubby as all hell when he came in. Bro, Anthony Edwards is young, man. Let him eat what he wants. His body will take care of itself. I think he
then
played
you should
great.
you say thank you to him every day for getting you to the playoffs, actually, and being competitive in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I will say it's Cap as one of the most expendable players on this team. I think.
I mean, just for the value you could get in return. I'm more saying I don't think he's garbage. That's not what I'm saying. I just think like if you had to move somebody to make this team better, if they're cratering, they don't want to crater this season. They gave up 5 picks for Rudy Gobert. They want to win a title. Right? That's why I think he's the most expendable because you could get something back for him.
I think it's D'Lo.
D'Lo is garbage. Nobody.
But you're not going to get much back. Yeah. If I was them, I would package Cat and D'Lo. Let me go get KD and Seth Curry, and we can talk.
Love it. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go.
Drunk says Cat to the Hornets. What's up in the chat? The Hornets don't have any pieces though for Cat that would like make
really
the Timberwolves a contender. Yeah.
The Hornets
it would have to be like LaMelo is the only person that would. Then why would they do that if LaMelo was part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about AD? AD for Cat. Who says no?
The Timberwolves. You can't give one of the best 3-point shooters.
LeBron says no.
AD and Rudy Gobert would sound like
they'd be
those rims
nasty on defense.
Yeah, they would.
Cats of the Blazers. Man, who are the Blazers have to give up though?
Honestly, send him anywhere. I can't stand Karl Anthony Towns. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's the one guy that I have an irrational amount of dislike for Cat. I'll be straight up. It's not fair how much I dislike him. I just don't like him.
Tell us how you really feel.
I will. I don't like you, Cat.
I do want to say he's a big problem of the Timberwolves like problems right now because his defense is just terrible. Like it's terrible. You can't rely on him to guard on the perimeter.
Well, that's why he's one of the best offensive big mans. That's why he said he's one of the best offensive big mans in the game.
Yeah, he reminds us every week.
One of the best big. I'm the best offensive big man of all time. Get out of here, man. Go away.
For real. Shut up.
Emmett Okur could shoot 3-pointers as well as you, buddy. All right, that was 15 years ago. Nobody's talking about Mehmet Okur anymore. On that level.
Facts.
All right. Ja's a top 5 player in the league.
Cap. Heavy Cap.
No, I knew you would say that was Cap. Bernie?
Can't.
Top
right
5.
Now. Right now.
He's top 8, so I have to say Cap.
Okay. I'm just saying he is insanely good. That one, I'm not going to argue with you guys. I could probably find 5 guys I would put ahead of him, but he is definitely doing everything he can to be right there. He's shooting threes. That was the biggest weakness in his offensive game. He's shooting threes like a madman right now.
Yeah, that's true. But the defense is still suspect. You know, I gotta see it.
Yeah, it's not great. Not as bad as some of the other guys that get up in that guard spot with him though. Like say like Trey. Like I don't
not
think
as bad as Trey.
Yeah, he's not that bad.
But if you got to say Trey, then like what class is he in as a defender?
Sure,
because like
that is a very good argument, Brad. I can't disagree with that.
Drunk says Ja's a top 5 player.
I mean, he's definitely not past 5. That's for sure. He's not 4.
Drunk, put 5 players in the chat that Ja is not better than, or I'm phrasing that wrong. Put your 5. Let me see it.
There you go. Yeah, let's see the 5. I'm curious. While we wait for Drunk on that one, I'm going to go to the next one, just because that one was a quick one. Right? I have more Memphis stuff. All right.
Okay.
There you go. We're going to get into a little area of me just taking shots at one of us. Some of them are me, some of them are you, Brad, some of them are you, Bernie. All right?
I love it.
Brad, you were wrong about Memphis, Brad. I think they might be the deepest team in the league, or one of. They're definitely not taking a step back from last season. Definitely not. They're too deep.
Desmond Bane.
Desmond Bane is making a question of like so far, Desmond Bane is one of the 20 best players in the league this season. Not even debate, in my opinion. He's incredible, and he's a good defender.
True. But I do want to say their schedule's been easy. They played the Kings, Nets, Mavericks, Rockets. Like, yeah, they've had a pretty easy schedule, and they do.
I appreciate that.
The Knicks, they do a great job scouting, though. Like, I agree that they are deep. They do a great job scouting, but rookie talent can only take you so far, I think, unless it's Paul.
Yeah, Unless it's Paolo. That's a good question. Bernie, what do you think about that? Do you think Brad was wrong?
Yeah, I would probably say he's wrong about that one in terms of just like I think Minnesota is going to be probably where they were at last year, if not like top 2, top 3. They're too deep, and once they get Triple J back, I think it's going to be you're going to see a different team. Again, we're still waiting for him to finally be healthy. It's just taking forever.
And when he was healthy last season, he was the defensive player of the year, as far as I'm concerned. It's just question is, can he ever put together a full season? He just can't do it. And I have a little question. I'm not saying I believe that this is true. Okay, so before any Memphis fans hear me and want to,
tear his head off, please.
Put my head on a spike, please don't do it. I'm just curious if Triple J can't stay healthy, right? If he comes back and it's still as on and off as it's been, the fact that Santi Aldama he's kind of nice. Does he make him a little expendable, like in the sense that they could go get something else with Triple J, or are they just still like Triple J is our guy? We're sticking with him no matter what.
That's tough. That's pretty tough.
I mean, Santi has got game. He can do a lot of stuff on offense. He's definitely not even half of the defender Triple J is at this point. That's not a question. But offensively, he's got some legitimate game on offense.
I would say, what do you think they could even get back for Jaren Jackson?
I think they could probably consider going to get Kevin Durant for him as part of it. I don't think it's just Triple J, but I think Triple J could definitely be a huge key trade for somebody like Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he could be
or Joel Embiid if Joel Embiid wants to leave too. Why not? Triple J is he's valuable for sure. He's only 22.
He is. And I think they just paid him too, right? Like last year.
Yeah. Sure. It's not a terrible
I would say they want to keep him, I think. I think
they want to keep him.
Yeah.
Because my only thing is I'm just saying if the injury stuff continues, that is my caveat to that question. But we can move on. That one's a little bit too ambiguous of a thing. Let me go back at myself. He's very injury prone. He literally can't stay on the court. Right here, I'm going to go back at myself now. All right, I sent a shot at you, Brad. It's only fair that I send a shot directly at myself here. All right, I was wrong about Phoenix. I'll just be straight up. I was wrong. I take it back. Not saying I think they're going to go win 60+ games again. I don't think that's true. Definitely didn't take a huge step back like I predicted. I think I put them as like the 6th seed in the West. I don't think that's possible anymore. I've already seen too much. I think they're definitely a good regular season team. Like that is the thing I was wrong about. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship, but I was wrong about Phoenix. I think I definitely was, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they won 64 games last year, so that's that doesn't happen by accident. So they're definitely a good regular season team.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still the most fraudulent contenders. They could win 70 games this year, and I would know that they are not winning a championship.
That's not for debate. I definitely don't think they're real contenders, but they're definitely because my thing was the Monty Williams, DeAndre Ayton stuff was just so weird, right? And it was the same thing I was wrong about with the Celtics. Won't even talk about that one. I was clearly wrong about the Celtics. I just overreacted to the coaching thing.
I'm still not a believer in the Suns.
Ooh, I kind of like that, Bernie. I like your take on old side a little bit.
I think the reason why I'm not a big believer in them is because Chris Paul right now is not shooting the ball very hotly right now, and I think it's going to cost him some games if you need one of your guys to go off. Whether and Aiton's going to miss some time right now from what I've seen. I think he has an ankle injury. I think is what I saw.
Yeah, he's out a week.
So he's out a week. So I mean that's going to cost you some games, I think. And if Booker's not shooting the ball the way that he normally does, you're gonna
games because of that. Yeah.
They'll drop games, and I think they need to figure out. They just need to figure out the rotation a little bit better. I don't know. I'm not a big Suns guy, and I think that's kind of where I'm at with their team. I know that again he's playing tremendously. Devin Booker is.
He's been awesome.
But eventually the it'll wear off, and then you'll kind of see what's going on after that.
Mascot will step in his way at some point and slow him down just a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Has Chris Paul finally hit his limit? Is he done? Looks pretty done.
I don't want to say he's done just because it's like
Not.
his jump shot is what's failing him right now. But you never lose your jump shot. Like Chris Paul has whatever how many years of showing he's an effective shooter. So I think it's just like new or beginning of the season woes. I think it probably evens out at some point. But for the most part, he's done. They're giving his shots to Mikal. They're giving a lot more minutes to Cam Payne. Cam Johnson is a starter now. I think for the most part, he's on the decline, but he's not done yet.
Yeah, I agree.
I will just say, Chris Paul has looked like playoff Chris Paul in the early regular season, which is not a good sign.
Trump said Chris Paul done. Put a fork in him.
Put a fork in him. Jeez.
he might be. I did also say I think Devin Booker's been like, if he could play this way the whole season, that's a legit case for MVP. I don't think he's got it in him personally, but he has been one of the best players I've seen so far this season. That is for sure.
Definitely, yeah. He's been on fire.
Let me give you guys my the one I sent you guys early. I have Pascal Siakam as the most underrated player in the league, like bar none. The only other guy, I will throw one name in there just because I do think he's still underrated, especially what he's done early in the season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that's my dude. You guys know. But the amount of talk you hear about Pascal Siakam does not reflect how good he is. He is certainly a top 15 player in the league right now, probably in the latter half of that 15. But he has been that for more than a year at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, he looks like a really good number one option, like the perfect number one option you want.
He's passing. I think he's like in top 12 of assists right now per game. I think he's over 8 assists per game, Pascal Siakam. That's nuts because he's also scoring almost 28 a game too. I think he's at like 26 and a half or something like that. So nuts. Bernie, what do you think about Pascal?
Yeah, I think he's underrated. I think that I think we forget about him because of the fact that he's in Toronto. We kind of forget about the Canadian team, but I think that this team is solid. Again, I'm not expecting the Raptors to go very far, but I could see if a contending team or if a team wants to make a move and they're like, oh, let's see if they're looking to move on from Pascal. I could definitely see it.
I think they're too good to trade him away right now. Because I was thinking there was a ton of rumors last season. Remember, the Warriors were looking at Pascal Siakam when his value was a little lower. I mean, imagine if they had made that trade at the time and he was on their squad right now. Yikes, man. We'd be talking about the Warriors a little differently, even though they're still obviously probably favorites for the championship. Be definitely favorites if they had Pascal Siakam playing the way he is right now.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That was a little bit of a swing and a miss, but even then it doesn't matter because they won the championship, so who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, Bernie. This one's for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Big question for you. Austin hasn't missed a beat without Ime. Does their continued excellence make Ime expendable? There's a question of they want the mess back and the drama of having him back if it doesn't look like they're going to take a step back at all. I think it's a legitimate question.
I think that the guys are really around Missoula right now, so I don't think they're gonna miss a beat with the MA. And I'm curious.
My question is, do you think that's going to affect them bringing him back or not? Do you think that's going to impact them wanting to get him, or have him just step back into the role?
No, I don't think so. I mean, as long as I think as long as there's communication with everybody, from the front office to the players, and everyone's on the same page, I think it'll be fine. I think to me, it's going to be like, I still think in terms of trying to find out what actually happened and because it was kind of weird. It's just kind of like, hey, he did this and nothing else from it came out.
It was definitely weird. That's for sure.
So just trying to figure out from that perspective, but I don't think the Celtics are going to miss a beat with or without him. I think he's just too good. So I think they're going to be.
What do you
chilling.
think, Brad? Outside view, do you think like if let's say they just literally it's the same thing as last season? They're the 1 seed, favorites for the championship going into the playoffs, and then you have to start wondering like, what if they do win the championship with Joe Mazzulla as their head coach, interim or not? You want to demote Joe Mazzulla back down if he just brought you a championship as your coach?
Absolutely not. I think
It's a
Drunk put
big
it in the
question.
chat. Like, yeah,
Drunk said.
Ime's already fired. He said Ime's already fired, bro. They just ain't told the public yet, which is pretty much that whole situation. Because suspending him for a year and then bringing him back to coach makes no sense, especially with how Missoula is doing. I think Ime is super expendable already. I think he was expendable from the moment they suspended him for a year. Like, they don't want him there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the question is, they handle it as weird as they could just so the fallback of bringing him back as your coach was still available. I really think that's probably what happened. Like, we are going to do everything we can to make sure you're not around, but just in case we're really terrible because you're gone, let's keep just the corner of the door is still open for you to put your finger back in and get back in as the coach. I do genuinely think Ime might not come back. If this team ends up being the 1 seed, I would be pretty hard pressed to think Joe Mazzulla gets, because he's just going to end up going to be a head coach somewhere else. Do the Celtics want to lose that if they all love him? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. I think Ime is an incredible coach though, so I kind of understand keeping the door just a little bit open for him to be back.
Yeah, I agree. He is
consider trading
incredible.
him.
Brooklyn should definitely try to get him. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not enough coach trades nowadays. Make a trade for a coach. Somebody could use Ime. Why not?
Yeah.
I think we were all kind of on the same boat with Miami, weren't we? We said they were going to have a fallback this season, drop off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Catch up. I think we were all right about them, and especially Kyle Lowry is done. I mean, whether Chris Paul is done is up for debate. Kyle Lowry does not look like an NBA player right now. He just does not. He's not good enough to be out there. I don't get it. He's done for, in my opinion. What do you guys think about Miami and Kyle Lowry?
I want to say he looked terrible the first like 2 games. He's been better, but yeah,
he was
put
okay.
put the fork in him. Put the fork in him.
Yeah, if you want to talk about putting a fork in someone, yeah, he's done. I think that's actually one of the worst contracts in the league too, because they gave him what, like 3 years and 100. Yeah,
making 30 plus mil a year right now. That is one of the worst contracts in the league. He's smaller, stubbier, Draymond Green. Like, it's not even then he doesn't bring any of the positives of even Draymond as of right now. So I mean he is really not good. He had like one semi-okay game I watched where it was like, oh, okay, that's kind of somewhat the guy that was in Toronto for all those years. He is I don't even know if the fork is worthy. I think we might need a spork for Kyle Lowry.
Spork.
Need to bust out the KFC spork for Kyle Lowry on him. Sorry about that, Kyle Lowry. I like you, but that one just made me sad because we were all just like, yeah, that's probably it for him. It's a bummer. Okay, here I got 4 more for you guys, right? And now I've saved some of my biggest ones. All right. I think Paolo Banchero is not only the best rookie since LeBron, he's one of the best rookies probably of all time. I mean, is he a top 3 rookie ever in NBA history? I'm just telling you guys. He continues at the level he is at right now. There's never been a rookie who's ever put up the stat line he's putting up. Never. It's never happened. He's legitimately made them play in level for sure. We were already a little higher on them, Brad. I know we both like them. He's different, man. He's different.
He is different, and as a Washingtonian, it's my duty to put the propaganda for him out there.
No, I can't help it too. I have to root for him, but I just love.
Yeah, I can't believe they were talking about Chet being the number 1 pick over him, but that's another story. But
Jabari Smith is the one where it's crazy.
Yeah, Jabari. Yeah, that was wild.
There's one stream if somebody really wanted to dive back deep and make me look like a fool. It was very early in the summer. I said maybe Jabari Smith over Paolo. I very quickly changed my opinion. It wasn't even a debate. Paolo was number 1 after a while, but he is that guy. I mean, I want to see Orlando. Let me give another thing for Orlando. I think Jamal Mosley needs to get more creative with that team. He has to Put out a lineup with all your big dudes. Put Franz as the point guard. Franz is running point guard for them a lot right now. Markel Fultz is injured. Jalen Suggs is injured. And now Cole Anthony is injured too with an oblique injury. Let Franz run the point or Paolo. Obamba. Bull has been amazing this season. I have been so impressed with Bull. He's not necessarily the greatest defender, but he is getting much better every time I see him play. Then Wendell Carter Jr. Throw that 5 out there. You have a sea of trees who all can do other things, drive. Some of them can handle the ball. They can all shoot. That's a tough lineup to play for a lot of teams. I'd be interested to see Jamal Mosley do that.
He did put Ball at point guard like 2 days ago because Franz has been running point. Yeah, he put Ball at PG, and I was like, it's like what the Nuggets did in the bubble, you know. But it was fun to watch.
Bull against the Knicks the one night, like I watched them super closely. I've watched most of the Magic's game, but against the Knicks in particular, Bull looked like Giannis Light. I mean, he was insane how good he was, and he was just doing everything all over the court. But I back to the original, cap or no cap here. Paolo is on track for the best rookie season of all time.
I'm gonna say no cap just because he's from Washington. I want to see it, so I want to speak it into existence. I do think AD had probably something like close as a rookie. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I feel like AD was just exceptional as a rookie too.
He was very good as a rookie. I don't remember being as like flabbergasted at how good he was as I have been with Paolo, but it's definitely worth consideration, that's for sure. How you feel? You think I'm being a little too hyperbolic here?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember the LeBron James rookie year, man. Like that was special.
I mean, he certainly. That's why I had it. He's the best rookie since LeBron. To me, that's more the take than anything. I shouldn't say the best rookie ever because it's tough to top that LeBron season, and a lot of people would just push back because it's LeBron, and that Cleveland team that LeBron went to was nightmare fuel. Like that's one of the worst teams of all time. They were so horrific, and it's not like Paolo was like this Orlando team was fun before he got there. Not great, but they were fun. So that is different. I cannot even remotely argue with that. Okay, Bernie, final cap or no cap? Are you going cap?
We'll go cap just because I think LeBron.
A LeBron-based cap here.
Yeah,
right, that's fine. Take it.
A LeMickey
it's
cap.
For LeBron, I won't argue. I'm a LeMickey stan too. I can't help it. All right, here we go. Jalen Green is taking the leap. I think Jalen Green is really he's jumping up a ring in terms of NBA stardom. I think he is actually showing why he was the number 2 pick last year. Still would have taken Mobley over him. Not even a question in my mind. I would have taken Mobley over Cade too. That's not what we're talking about. Jalen Green definitely is proving that he was worthy of the 2nd pick, and he is taking the leap. What do you guys think about that?
Bernie, you want to go ahead?
I'll go no cap. I think that this Rockets team is still, obviously trying to figure out, who they are. They gave Kevin Porter Jr. the contract extension. I think that this team, when I look at them, I don't know. I'm not blown away by them because they're such a young team. But I think that when I look at it, shooting 37% from the point land, but the field goal percentage itself right now at 39% is not very good. And so
he's taking a lot of shots.
Yeah, and right now he's 45 for 115. That's just not going to cut it for me.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I can't lie. The efficiency definitely needs to take a step up, but just have been very impressed with him in most games. And I think he had like 2 games where he was like 2 of the 6 were like he was like 8 of 25 or something like that. So that definitely skewed those numbers pretty poorly for him.
Yeah.
How about you, Brad?
Yeah, I like Jalen Green, but I'm gonna go cap just because we already knew he could score. Like we already knew his point total was gonna go up. I just need to see more from him, like getting his teammates involved, the
Yeah.
efficiency going up, and then playing both sides of the ball because he's still not that good on defense. Um, like with KPJ, like at least with KPJ, we know he can score, but we're seeing him, he's starting to rebound more, he's starting to pass more. I just want to see Jalen Green try to affect the game in other ways because he just is so zoned in on scoring.
Yeah, that was why I was pretty low on him in comparison to most people coming into the draft. But I think it was more for me so far. What's been impressive is just scoring is like we knew he could score, but he's really scoring like at a high NBA level. Like it's not just like empty 20-point games or whatever, right? It's not just a consistent like you're scoring more than the average bad player or good stats bad team type of guy, right? He's really scoring. Like he's had a couple 30+ nights already. Which isn't crazy common for second year guys on bad teams. And other thing too for this team is we haven't really talked about him hardly ever. I know we just mentioned it, but Jabari Smith Jr. has been kind of okay too. I've been pretty impressed with him. Doesn't all
I think his
work out so well, but it's mostly looking pretty promising for him.
Yeah. I think his defense is like changing the structure of that team. And then I think it was against Utah where he had like 3 or 4 blocks or something. But yeah, like the synergy with Jabari and Jalen Green and KPJ is just a little off. Like I know you guys saw that clip of Jabari and Jalen Green getting into it.
Yeah.
On the bench. Yeah, and Eric Gordon's just sitting there like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, why am I with these kids?
Yeah, I'm too old for this.
I saw that and I was just like, Jabari Smith is getting flashbacks to being at Auburn with those guards.
Exactly that. So yeah, they need to work on their synergy. Yeah.
No.
I'm back with a guy who won't pass me the ball ever again. Oh no, that's definitely what he was thinking.
No Walker Kessler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Walker Kessler was probably the only player he liked playing with on that team. To be fair, Bernie, you're gonna like this one. You already talked about it a little bit. I think Donovan Mitchell has already evolved Cleveland into like undeniable contender status.
Yeah, no cap.
It's not even a question. Like they're definitely one of the best teams in the NBA.
Yeah,
we were very right on that one, Bernie. I feel good about it.
Yeah, I mean the Cavaliers have continued to show why they're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. Why adding Donovan Mitchell and trading those guys that they did, it shocked a lot of people. They were worried because of the stigma around Donovan Mitchell in Utah, but you can clearly see that it is working for them. They're enjoying their basketball right now, and so when I see when I see this team, I'm kind of excited for their postseason run, and kind of excited to see especially statement games. I'm excited to see how they do in those games, but I think we've been right about them. I mean, when Darius Garland gets back, it's going to be a total different dynamic too. It's going to be dangerous, and I think that they're going to be definitely in the top 4 for sure for the East. I'm excited to watch it.
Just imagine a finals between the Pelicans and the Cavaliers right now. How fun would that be? Those teams would
great
be
basketball.
An insane 7-game series.
Yeah, great coaches, great rosters. Whew.
It'd be a blast. Because one thing too, and I hate to toot my own horn here, but what I kept saying for this Cleveland team and why I love Donovan Mitchell for them was their biggest hole as a team was who is going to score for them in crunch time minutes. Like who is going to be the guy that makes his own shot and can just do whatever he needs to do to get a bucket in the last minute of a game. Because in the last couple seasons, they haven't had that guy. It was Darius Garland. And a lot of people would push back and say, well, Darius Garland is that guy. He doesn't want to be that guy. Darius Garland is a passing guard. He can score and he can shoot. Darius Garland likes to get his team involved. So it's not necessarily his game to be like seeking out that final shot. Now with Donovan Mitchell, that is like, that's a thing of the past. Like they have an answer for every situation they need to. The defense with Mobley. And Mobley, I don't even want to get on to Mobley just because I'll start crying tears of joy because I love him so much. There are not many players in the NBA that make me as happy as a basketball fan as Mobley. And like one thing I'll say from Mitchell, I've been legit impressed about. His leadership for Cleveland has been pretty impressive. Like What he did to challenge Mobley early in the season was so different than what Cat did with Ant, for example. And I don't want to go back to my Cat rant, but he challenged Mobley just to step up and talk more. And Mobley has been doing that. I mean, he's
Yeah.
getting 20 points a game, defensive. I mean, absolute anchor for the team. And Garland isn't even playing for them. So I would be terrified to play Cleveland if I was almost any other team in the league right now.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
cap.
Yeah, dang, man. I was worried I was going to be too hot with some of these. You guys are making me feel like I'm not that crazy anymore. All right, here we go. Here we go. Final two here.
Final two.
Final
Okay.
two. I think Detroit might still stink, guys. I think we were kind of excited to watch Detroit. I think they kind of suck still. I don't know. They're not as fun as I was hoping.
No
Cap.
cap. I'll take that. I'll take that quickly.
Okay.
No cap. I had them as a 10 seed as a playing team. They've disappointed me.
So
Sadiq Bey, I could go
disappointed.
on about.
Mm.
What about you, Bernie?
I kind of knew that this was going to be it. The only person that's really looked fun on this team to really watch has been Bogdanovich, because he's just hooping out there. He's like, there's no worries. He's not worried about anything. Like, he's just balling, putting up his 23 points a game and 51% 3-point shooting right now. I mean, this is just a dude just having fun, right? And
Got
trying
that
to
science teacher in the faculty student game right now.
yeah, absolutely balling. And that's kind of the thing that I'm looking at this Detroit team. I knew that they were going to be okay. I didn't think they were going to be anything special. But I think that the pieces are starting to come alive a little bit. They just need to. There's some excitement, but I still think it's going to be a bit before we really get excited about them. I think it's probably going to take another two years before we finally are like, wow, this is Detroit basketball that we remember, or at least the older people, especially in the '80s, remember, and maybe even like the 2003, 4 team,
Yeah,
Pistons.
team.
But it's going to be a while before the Pistons get back to that era. But I think they're on the right direction. They're in the right step. It's just going to take them a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's a team I would, if I was, I would highly consider. I'm not a anti Dwayne Casey. I just don't really like what I'm seeing from them. I don't really understand how they could look so not fun with the amount of talent they have. Like, there's a lot of stuff weird with that team, and it's early. They're just going to get better. They're still so young that maybe it's on us for having high expectations of exciting basketball, but it has been disappointing so far.
But Jaden Ivey's look good, though.
He has looked pretty good, and Jalen Duren has looked really good. I mean, Jalen Duren bullies people down low for rebounds.
The man child, man. He's a man child.
He is the man child. All right, here we go. Last one. NBA doesn't need to address tanking. Wembanyama is just a very special case. That's the whole take. I don't think there's any reason to go and start changing all the stuff. Just think that this is an especially different situation for Wembanyama. What do you guys think about that?
What do you think, Brad?
I'm torn, but I'm gonna say no cap, just because, like, I mean, how do you even really address tanking with these teams? Some teams are just bad. Like, the Rockets have all the talent in the world with their young guys, but they're just bad, so
They're not trying to lose by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly. Same with the Magic. The Magic were trying to win. They just got injuries, and then they're young. Paulo's going off, setting all these rookie records, but they were, I think, 0-5 or something like that. So they just picked up their first win this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So between that and then Wemby just being, a generational alien prospect, I don't think they need to address tanking. It just kind of is what it is.
And nobody was going that crazy to get Paolo. And look at that. Wembanyama just really, it's just it's its own thing. It's not that, it's the same thing as LeBron, right? It's just now it's 2022 and we know what we know about tanking and getting these higher draft picks. It's just a different perspective we have now. I don't think there's any reason to change everything about the whole situation just because there's not a Wembanyama in next year's draft. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's no cap for sure. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it all depends on your GM and it depends on your front office. I mean, if they're competent, they will build you a really good team. If they're not competent, you'll be stuck in limbo like a lot of these teams have been. You know, especially when we think about the Cavaliers all those years, even the Phoenix Suns before they even got Devin Booker. Or actually when they did have Devin Booker as a young guy. Think of all the point guards that they tried to draft and didn't succeed
Yeah.
until they finally got Chris Paul, a free agent, and then they got DeAndre Ayton. Like
Mhm.
that's finally when they made something. So I can understand from Adam Silver's perspective that, like, you know, how many times are we going to let these teams have chances at getting the number one pick over and over and over again? I could see that from that perspective, yes, but I think at the end of the day, it still comes down to your front office. I mean, we've seen the Sacramento Kings for years now, ever since White Chocolate and Chris Webber. Like, they haven't been good since then. So it all depends on your front office. You can give the Kings all the picks in the world, they're still going to do a bad job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
Same with
matter.
like the Wizards. I do think they should like put in something where it's like you can't have a top 5 pick, like, 3 years in a row.
Yeah. I don't think that's that crazy. I think that's if there was any change to make, just make it something simple like that. You can't get a top 3
Yeah.
pick 3 years in a row or whatever it is. That's just
Yeah.
there's no reason for that. All right, I'm going to do one last one because I don't think that was spicy enough. And this one is self-serving of all of them, all right? 2020 Knicks are back, better than ever. Jalen Brunson has a chance to legitimize the New York Knicks and finally bring a star to New York.
Is it going to be the
You guys
MIP?
think?
Is it going to be the MIP this year?
To me,
Ooh, he's looking like it.
there is no shot if he stays at the way he is right now that he is not the most improved player. There's literally no way. He's one of the best players I've seen this season. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Knicks fan. It's just like everything you could possibly enjoy watching about basketball or just enjoy about basketball. He brings all of it. He really does. And he is very good, man. He's very good. I love that dude. Just think.
Yeah,
2020 Knicks back.
I'll say no cap because they are looking like it. Julius Randle looks way better than he did last year, and that's probably a lot attributed to Brunson, like giving them some
100%
semblance on
Brunson.
offense. Exactly, like getting people in their spots. I am worried about RJ because he's only good with the ball in his hands, and he's not getting the ball in his hands a lot. But they do
It's more
look a
the
lot
shooting.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's more
yeah.
the bunnies. RJ, the bunnies they're killing me this season. I mean, there has been so many missed layups. It's disgusting. But I love RJ. I will defend him forever. You think, Bernie? You think I'm just being too much of a homer?
You're being too much of a homer.
No, Bernie. No. I
This
didn't. I should never
the
expect anything else from you.
I think the Knicks, just like in every fairy tale story, the clock will strike midnight and the pumpkin will return. And that's what I think the
Oh,
Knicks are going to return to.
Wow.
I think
Bernie.
I think this team is solid, but I still think they're at best a play-in team. Um, I don't necessarily think that there's, again, because I think once they start, because who have they played so far? That's like been a tough. Let me look at their.
Hornets.
Milwaukee,
Yeah.
Memphis, Hornets, Detroit, and one other team that we beat. I don't remember who. It was a terrible team though. Another
Yeah.
bad one.
Yeah, so right now your schedule so far, so you got lost to Memphis in OT, won against Detroit, yeah, expected. Orlando expected. Overtime with Charlotte should be expected. I mean, you should win teams, but then you lose to them all. I mean, at the end, you're gonna lose to the really good teams. You're gonna beat those super mid teams. I think it's just gonna be same old for the Knicks.
They still don't have Quentin Grimes back either, defensive specialist.
Hey Brad, we're getting
Yeah.
on to something here. I'm telling you, this is my last plea. Just anybody who cares, I have to say.
And Randall's shooting
All right.
27% from 3 too, so that's not very good.
Once we get Fournier out of the starting lineup, people will start taking this team seriously. I'm not kidding. I'm not even trying to just make a joke here and be me as a homer. I would tell you if I thought they sucked. This team is legitimately not bad, right? Problem is that you can't have Brunson out on the court with Fournier. The defense is just so bad. And it's not even that Brunson's a bad defender. It's just that Fournier is just such a bad help defender. he's such an awful individual defender that it makes everybody look bad when he's out on the court. Once Quentin Grimes is out there and actually probably our best defensive player other than Mitchell Robinson, it's going to look night and day. Because one thing I will challenge people to do is watch today's game against Cleveland. Watch today's game against Cleveland. I guarantee you they play them closer than people think they do. Because even the Milwaukee game, played them not bad. And I know they didn't have Middleton, but we played them pretty well for most of the game. The only reason we weren't even closer to winning that is because we had an awful stretch, an 18-0 run, which is terrible. But they still made it close. Gave Memphis, who's been one of the best teams in the league, everything they had. So I guess I don't know. I just had to get it out. Bernie, you did crush my soul at the end of this stream, though. But it's okay. I'll hold on to that energy for the next stream. Ready for what I have to say about Boston next week.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, kind of the flavor of the month, right? Flavor of the week. I think the Knicks aren't bad. I mean, they played pretty well, right? 5th in the East right now, 3-2. But again, when they play the tough teams, they kind of falter. But again, I
finish ahead of Brooklyn. There you go. Well, how about that? Can we agree on that? They're going to finish
the New York award. Yes, you're going to win the New York award.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. We take those.
Also, I need let's get Cam Reddish a little bit more minutes, man.
He needs to not make such poor decisions when he's on the court. He's good. Like Cam, he should get more minutes. If there's anybody on the team that needs more minutes, it's Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is legitimately good. Like, he is not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I almost wish he would go to a different team so he could play more, because people paid attention. He's a really good player. He can play defense. He could shoot.
Yeah.
Do anything you need.
Yeah.
Let's get off there. We don't need to talk about them too much. That was my little sales pitch for people to watch my team. I've been genuinely impressed. They look different this year than they did last year. But yeah, guys, I guess that concludes it for Cap or No Cap. We'll see if you guys enjoy it. Maybe we'll bring it back. Need to be a little bit more spicier the next time. I definitely have found that out. I think some of my takes didn't go far enough for how strongly I feel about some of these teams. I mean, in retrospect, I should have gone harder on the Warriors' defense. They're terrible on defense. They're terrible. We were defending their defense earlier in this stream. But get off Cap or No Cap. Bernie, I'll hand the reins back over to you. I appreciate you guys for humoring me, though. Dude, this NBA season has been really fun so far, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty. So again, I want to thank everybody tuning into the charge today, bringing the latest NBA news and rumors, and of course basketball opinions with, of course, Cap or No Cap. Appreciate you, Pete, for having that segment for us. And again, like Pete said, if you guys like it, we'll bring it back. Obviously, I'll splice it up so we can get a little bit more videos out of this. But with that being said, thank you once again for joining us here on the charge. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Pete, for tuning in.
You, Bernie, for having us.
Always a pleasure. Yeah.
And we'll catch everybody on the next video. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. All that stuff helps out us in the algorithm as we continue to kind of build this channel up, continue to grow it. And we're excited to see what future holds for the charge moving forward, especially in this league. Hopefully, you know, when I have when winter break kind of comes in, it might be more time for us to kind of maybe do some live streams and things like that for a game, like watching it. But with that said, we'll catch everybody on the next episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see everybody on the next live stream and, of course, the videos that come out during the week.